Let's welcome a Scotsman onto the show, someone who is still the last person to score a winning goal for Scotland at a major tournament way back in 1996. A very good morning to Ally McCoist. Ally, good morning to you.
Very good morning, boys. How are we this morning?
Very good, thank you. You and I did the first two Scotland games together. When you look at the tournament as a whole, where do you think it went wrong?
Well, we just lack players with any creativity and any goal-scoring threat, really. I think the lads, Sam, are as honest a group of boys as you'll get. But when you think you're looking at the cold light of day, we don't have anybody really that can take somebody on, that can get by somebody, that can create a little bit of magic, that can do something different. You look at a midfield, which is the strongest point in our team, without doubt. I don't think we really performed that even in the middle of the pitch with our best players to the level that we would have hoped. But I think the biggest thing, guys, is, and it was really evident over the three games, we lack a player that can do something different, you know, that can perhaps even get by somebody. You know, when you get by, if you get by a full back, it means another left centre back's got to come over and the whole thing changes, the whole picture changes. We don't have MD that does something a little bit different, and that was one of the big problems.
Ali, I'm going to get straight to it. The penalty decision that wasn't given yesterday. I mean, we've sat here, we all watched the game last night. We thought it was a stonewall penalty. Can you believe that wasn't given?
Well, Ben, it's amazing, right? I'm going to be brutally honest with you. See, when I first saw it, I actually didn't think it was a penalty, to be brutally honest. And then I watched it again, and he definitely hits his calf, right? I think there's a knee. I think it's Willie Orban, the big centre-back, Hungarian centre-back, comes in, and I think he catches Armstrong's calf with his knee. In that respect, now, I can understand perhaps the referee, like I did, maybe not thinking it's a penalty right at the start, but it must go to VAR, and they must see the contact. But then it's funny, Benty, because first person I met, we're doing a post-mortem after the game, was Pat and Evan. I'm talking away to Pat, and Pat still didn't think it was a penalty, which you know, we've all got different opinions on it. But I don't think there's any doubt, Benty, when I look at it, why VAR have not had a look at it is baffling. But, guys, that's one incident. In the grand scheme of things, we haven't performed to any level like we could have and should have. We're talking about penalty, one incident. It should have been given, yes, absolutely. Would it have altered the way the game went? Without doubt. But bigger picture, we weren't good enough.
And where do you put the blame at that? Do you think it's just a bit unlucky that the injuries to Dykes, to Hickey, to Patterson, to other players in the build-up to this tournament were contributing factors, or do you think that actually Steve Clarke should have been a little bit braver with his tactics in the game that you and I did in Cologne against Switzerland?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, guys, to be honest with you. Our squad's not nearly big enough and strong enough to handle losing, whether it's Hickey, you know, Serie A's midfielder of the year, Lewis Ferguson and boys like that, Patterson, not strong enough to lose players like that. That said, again, it's just a small reason. There was other factors, yes. I mean, I was disappointed, lads, at the end of the game last night, and I know we had to go and win it. But the way I looked at it, boys, was not scoring a goal last night was not good, but it was not a total disaster. Losing a goal last night was a total disaster. Because losing a goal put you out the tournament. Not scoring a goal didn't necessarily put you out the tournament. And I know people say you've got to go and win the game, and I do understand that, and I get it. But come on, guys, you cannot leave yourself 1v1 at the back. I don't care who it is, at what level, you don't leave yourself 1v1 at the back.
100%. And Ali, so what next then do you think for Steve Clarke? I mean, listen, I think he's done a phenomenal job since he's been the Scotland manager. The 2 Euros, but there are fans coming this morning saying that maybe enough's enough, and they're talking about David Moyes. If you're Steve Clarke, or even the Scottish FA, what do you do next?
I'll tell you something. The first thing I do from Steve Clarke, Benty, is this. I do not make any knee-jerk reaction. And while I'm at it, neither do the SFA. Because the one thing that Steve Clarke has deserved and does deserve is a little bit of time for everybody to mull things over. Maybe go a wee holiday, get a break. He'll decide what he wants to do. He'll come back. I would imagine he'll have a chat with the bosses at the SFA, and they can discuss the whole thing over. The one thing, as I said, that he doesn't deserve, or nobody deserves, the fans don't deserve, who incidentally, by the way, lads, have been outrageously good. I mean, and I know, you know, we seem to be talking about it all the time, but it's worth a mention. It definitely is worth a mention. Even last night, you know, those supporters were absolutely incredible, and I was gutted for them more than anything. I genuinely wanted them to get one knockout game opportunity that's never happened before. They've been fantastic. But get back to the question of Steve Clarke, mull things over, sit down, have a chat, Benty. If he wants to carry on, then you have to have a chat with the bosses at the SFA. If they want to change it, you know, they need to sit down and have a chat with him. I'll be surprised. It's a funny thing. I don't know what's going on, pardon me, in Stevie's head right now, boys, because it'll be mixed emotions, a disappointment, and everything will be goes through his head. You mentioned Davy Moyes. Davy Moyes would, of course, he would be an option. Are there other options? I'm not so sure there's that many options out there. So it'll be an interesting time. I would be quite happy for him to continue. I genuinely would, right? I think, like everybody else, he would look back on it and say he probably made mistakes. But, you know, I'll look at the team selection last night in a game that I understand he's saying you've got to win. So you maybe could play with, you can maybe do start with a Lewis Morgan, maybe start with somebody that's got a little bit of pace, or come in off a wider area, because I thought in wide areas we struggled over the tournament. As I say, we don't have a winger. You look at other teams, they've got a threat. We don't have a. So perhaps you could have started with Lewis Morgan. You know, I don't know. But in answer to the question regarding Stevie Clarke, boys, I think it'll be hopefully a good couple of weeks before any kind of decisions made, and I think he's definitely earned that.
You are obviously a very well-known television and radio pundit. You've been a high-profile player as well. I'm just going to change gear and move the conversation on to England just slightly because of that reason. You know how important your words are. What do you make of the England camp taking offence to a little bit of criticism? And I must say again, you know, if you listen to the whole context of Gary Lineker's podcast, actually, he was very complimentary about Gareth and Harry Kane throughout the course of it, and he was actually very constructive too. But what do you make about England getting very sensitive about it? Are you surprised that they reacted to that?
Well, I agree with you, Sam, because I listened to it, and Gary, I think, his comments were I think were actually pretty fair. But it was, for me, I think it's just a language, mate, that was used. I genuinely do. I think with hindsight, I think you talk about the words that were used on the podcast, Sam, yes.
Absolutely.
I just think, I think, Sam, to be honest, I just think it was a language. Because if you actually take what he says, you know, I don't think he says a lot wrong. But I just think I can understand the players getting a little bit upset at the podcast language, if you like, that was used. I think they probably felt they deserved a better tone from a former England player and somebody that they probably hold in high esteem. And they're probably not wrong. But if you take in isolation, you know, what he was meaning and what he was saying, I take your point. I don't think he's wrong in what he was saying. His criticism, for example, in the level of performance, isn't wrong. Let's be honest about it. You know, England can do a lot better. England will qualify. There's no doubt about that. But can England do a lot better? Yes. Do they want a little bit of criticism? Of course they do. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But I think, and I understand, I think the players are maybe just a little bit upset at the tone. And I know you come back to me and say they're big boys and they should just get on with it. And you know, to a certain degree, they should. They should. But I think they're probably a little bit surprised a little bit by the tone.
Ali, thank you very much. It's been a great tournament so far, and just going around with the Scotland fans and Ali is an amazing experience because he gets mobbed everywhere he goes.
Like walking around with
he's got like a hat on, he's got the glasses on, he's got the fake nose, he's trying to get away, but they sniff him out everywhere because he's like, you know, and listen, he's great with them, he's brilliant with them, but you know, it's difficult from getting from A to B when the Scotland fans are around. We've got to get to the commentary box. We haven't got time for our 10,000 selfies, I'm afraid, but he's brilliant with them. He's absolutely terrific. He stops for everyone and he speaks to everyone as well. It's a great experience travelling around with him. We'll see him soon. In fact, he's hosting talkSPORT Breakfast tomorrow from here. We're looking forward to him being back on the show. Coming up, we'll look ahead to a huge evening of Euros action and ask, could Spain go on and win the whole thing? That's next.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.